Have you ever caught yourself lying awake at night thinking, "What will they say about me?" Or, "Did I make a fool of myself today?" Do you sometimes feel that your whole peace of mind depends on how others see you? Like your value is measured by their words? Let us take a simple example. Imagine walking down the street, and someone you know doesn't smile at you. Immediately, your mind starts spinning. Did I upset them? Did I do something wrong? Are they angry with me? All this storm begins inside, even though the other person may just be lost in their own thoughts. Welcome to Wisdom Woven. Here we weave gentle wisdom into daily life. If you are new here, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. It really supports us to keep creating such heart-touching content. But let me remind you something important. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% subscribes. So please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Together, we can grow a community of peace seekers. Often, our suffering is not created by reality, but by the unending chatter inside our head about others. We imagine their thoughts, judge their judgments, and let it control us. This hidden cycle steals our joy. Buddhism teaches that the mind is like a mirror. Whatever we hold in front of it, that is what it reflects. When we hold others' opinions too close, we cloud our own reflection. The Buddha reminded his disciples not to compare themselves, but to walk their own path with mindfulness. This is not about ignoring people, but about freeing the mind from unnecessary weights. When we live for the approval of others, our life becomes like a puppet held by invisible strings. One word from someone can lift us up, another can crush us down. Is this real freedom? Overthinking others is like carrying a heavy bag of stones you never needed. It is not theirs to carry, and yet you choose to keep it on your own shoulders. In Buddhist thought, clinging to others' minds is considered a form of attachment, and every attachment leads to suffering because it ties us to things we cannot control. Even a simple moment of silence can teach us. Just as clouds float without asking the sky's permission, we too can let our thoughts pass without begging others for approval. Life becomes lighter when we realize that people are often too busy with their own lives to truly think about us as much as we imagine. So why give our joy away to an illusion? This path of self-liberation begins with noticing when our mind starts its cycle of judgments. Awareness is the first step. Freedom follows. In Buddhism, practicing mindfulness is not only about focusing on the breath, but also about recognizing when we are lost in others' shadows and gently guiding ourselves back. When you stop thinking too much about others, you start hearing your own inner voice again. That voice has been waiting behind all the noise. Remember, you are not defined by someone's silence, someone's look, or someone's opinion. You are defined by your own heart, your own actions, and your own truth. So in this journey, let us step away from the trap of constant worry about others. Together, we will discover how to live authentically, freely, and at peace. This is just the beginning. Stay with me, because what follows can truly change the way you see yourself and the world around you. Why the mind is drawn to others' opinions. Listen closely, dear seeker. The mind, like a restless child, is often pulled toward the thoughts and judgments of others. It is natural, deeply human to wonder what others think, to seek their approval and avoid their disapproval. But why does this pull feel so strong? Why do we let the mind get lost in the labyrinth of other people's opinions? The mind clings to the reflections of others because long ago, in the hidden corners of our being, It learned that safety depends on acceptance. We are born vulnerable, needing others to survive. This early learning, like an unseen thread, tugs at us every day. When others smile, we feel warmth. When others frown, a cold shadow crosses our heart. This longing for approval is not a weakness, but a survival instinct. It helped our ancestors live in communities, share resources, and stay protected. Even now, deep inside, the mind believes that fitting in means safety. This is why the mind pays so much attention to what others think. But the mind doesn't see the whole picture. It sees only half of the truth. It forgets that the approval it craves is not the root of true safety. True safety, true peace, comes from within, from knowing our own worth regardless of the world's shifting opinions. Imagine a river. The water flows naturally, following the path carved by the earth. But what if the river tried to mold itself to every stone it meets? It would waste all its energy trying to fit each obstacle and lose its clarity and strength in the process. The mind behaves similarly when caught in the grip of others' minds. It tries to bend, to change, to become someone it is not, just to be accepted. In this bending, it loses its clarity and strength. It loses connection with the pure self, the untouched center that remains calm no matter the storm outside. The Buddha taught that the mind is like a wild monkey, always jumping from branch to branch, restless and unsettled. When this monkey climbs into the branches of others' thoughts, it forgets its own roots. It forgets that it can rest peacefully when it returns to its own tree. We are like that monkey today, jumping eagerly into opinions, judgments, and stories about ourselves created by others. But imagine if that monkey took a pause, returned to its own branch, and rested. Would it not find peace? Here, in this simple pause, we begin to see why the mind is drawn to others so intensely. It fears being alone. It fears judgment. It fears rejection. These fears create a powerful magnetic pull, a force stronger than reason, that drags us into chasing others' reflections endlessly. But what if we look deeper? What if we realize that others' opinions are just passing clouds, not the sky itself? That their views are shaped by their own fears, desires, and stories, and have little to do with the truth of our being? This understanding is the first seed of freedom. When the mind realizes that it is not actually the target of others' judgments, that those judgments are more about them than about us, the chains begin to loosen. The great Zen masters often spoke about this truth in their teachings. They said, "Do not seek the approval of the world. Seek only the approval of your own heart." But to trust our heart, we must first quiet the wild mind that chases others like a restless dog chasing shadows. To quiet this mind, to gently welcome it home, we turn to mindfulness, the simple practice of observing thoughts as they come and go without grabbing onto any. When the thought, "They think I am not good enough," arises, we do not follow it into the maze. Instead, we acknowledge it kindly and let it float away like a leaf on a stream. Mindfulness teaches us that our reactions to others' opinions are not facts. They are stories we tell ourselves, and stories can change once we become aware of their power. Here is another truth. The mind is drawn to others' opinions because it confuses identity with image. It believes the face it shows to the world is the real self. But the face, the image, changes with every glance, every nod, every whisper. The real self, the core that Buddha invites us to know, is untouched by these changing tides. When we understand this, the mind starts to loosen its grip. It stops tying its happiness to the fragile thread of external approval. It begins to find joy in simply being present, in simply being itself. It is not easy, for the habit runs deep, woven into the fabric of our daily lives. But every small step away from the tangled web of others' opinions is a step toward freedom. Imagine waking up each day without the heavy weight of, "What will they think?" Imagine a mind that rests like a peaceful lake, undisturbed by passing winds of judgment. This is not just a dream. It is the promise of the path we walk. Like a lantern lighting the dark, mindfulness and wisdom from the Buddha show us how to return home to ourselves. No longer does the mind hunger for the applause or fear the criticism. It learns to stand firm, steady and true, like a tree rooted deeply in the earth, untouched by passing storms. So, dear listener, the reason the mind is drawn to others' opinions is born from our very human need for connection and safety. But that need not be its prison. We can learn to see the illusions that trap us. We can find the courage to turn inward and find that true acceptance rests only inside us. This is the beginning of a gentle revolution within, where the noisy mind quiets and peace blooms in the heart. Allow yourself the grace to begin this journey today. The mind, once freed from the fetters of others' opinions, becomes a wellspring of calm, love, and true wisdom. In that calm, the world appears not as a judge, but as a mirror reflecting the light you carry inside. May this understanding settle warmly in your heart. The road ahead is yours to walk, with peace as your companion and wisdom as your guide. Buddha's teachings on comparing and judging. Dear traveler on the path of life, have you ever noticed how often the mind reaches out to measure itself against others? How it spins stories of comparison. She is better, he has more, they are happier, and I am less. This ceaseless measuring, this constant weighing against unseen scales, is one of the heaviest burdens the mind carries. The Buddha, with his gentle and profound insight, saw this clearly. He saw that comparison and judgment are like two shadows that cloud the heart's light. They breed dissatisfaction and sorrow, creating walls that separate us from peace and from each other. In the quiet forests of ancient India, under the great Bodhi tree, the Buddha taught that suffering arises not from the world outside, but from the mind's reaction to that world. When we compare, we enter the realm of illusion, where what is true becomes distorted by stories we tell ourselves. Imagine a garden full of flowers. Each flower blooms brightly, each with its unique color, fragrance, and shape. Now imagine a gardener who, instead of marveling at this diversity, constantly compares. This flower is not as tall, or that blossom is not as fragrant. The joy of the garden fades into shadows of envy and disappointment. In the same way, when the mind compares itself to others, it forgets to celebrate its own beauty and uniqueness. It loses sight of the fact that no two souls are alike, and none can be measured against another fairly. Comparison binds us to a cycle of wanting what others have or resenting what we lack. The Buddha taught a most radical freedom, to look deeply and see ourselves as we truly are, beyond the comparisons. This means finding the value in our own being, recognizing the inherent worth that does not depend on another's success or failure. Judgment, too, is closely linked to comparison. When we judge others, we build walls between good and bad, right and wrong. These walls divide the world into categories and imprison the heart in prejudice. But the Buddha showed us a different way. one that dissolves judgment and opens the heart to compassion. He said, "Hatred does not cease through hatred at any time. Hatred ceases through love. When we judge, we close our hearts. When we open them with love, compassion blooms. True seeing requires no judgment. It is like a clear lake, reflecting everything without distortion. When the mind ceases to judge, it can look at others without fear or envy and look at itself with kindness instead of harshness." You might ask, how do I stop this comparing and judging when it feels so natural? The answer is found gently, step by step. First, become a witness to your own thoughts. Notice when the mind starts to compare, when it whispers, "I am not enough," or "they have what I want." Without blaming or fighting, just observe these whispers like clouds drifting across the sky. Next, invite kindness into your heart. Speak to yourself as you would to a dear friend who feels lost and unsure. Say softly, "You are enough just as you are." Then, practice gratitude for your own gifts and progress, no matter how small. Every step forward in love and understanding is beautiful and worthy. The Buddhist teachings also remind us to see others with compassionate eyes. Behind every smile or frown lies a story of struggle and hope. When you meet others without judgment, you free yourself and them from a cycle of pain. Comparison and judgment are like thieves of joy. They steal our peace and make us strangers to ourselves. But through mindfulness and loving kindness, we can reclaim our joy and return home to our true selves. Remember the story of the young monk who struggled with envy. One day, his teacher took him to a river and asked him to look into the water. The monk saw his reflection, but also dirt floating on the surface. Leaves, mud, and debris. The teacher said, "Your mind is like this river. When it is cluttered with comparison and judgment, the reflection is distorted. Cleanse the river with patience and kindness, and you will see yourself clearly." So begins the work of becoming gentle with the mind, returning again and again from tangled thoughts to simple truth. This way of seeing is not just a teaching but a practice. With each breath, you can choose to soften the grip of comparison and judgment. You can choose to honor your unique path and honor the paths of others. The Buddha showed us a path beyond competition, a path of harmony and deep peace. He taught that when the heart is free from comparison, it blooms like a lotus flower, radiant and resilient. Dear one, you are not your mind's stories. You are the silent observer beneath the noise. You are the stillness beneath the waves. As you travel this path, remember to be patient. The mind may stumble, may return to old habits. This is natural. Each moment is a new chance to gently bring the mind back to kindness and presence. Step by step, moment by moment, the heavy burden of comparing and judging can be laid down. And in laying it down, you make space for a lightness of heart that welcomes the world with open arms. May your journey be gentle, your heart be brave, and your mind be at peace. The root of insecurity, looking outside for validation. Dear friend, have you ever felt a quiet unease, a subtle whisper inside that tells you are not enough? Sometimes, this feeling hides beneath a mask of smiles and words, but it quietly pulls at your heart, urging you to look outside yourself for a sense of worth. Why does the mind seek this validation from others? Why does it seem so urgent to be seen, liked, and accepted? This longing is deeply rooted in a sense of insecurity. From the earliest moments of life, Each being carries a fragile thread of vulnerability, a natural part of being human. When that thread feels weak or broken, the mind reaches outward, hoping to mend itself with the gaze, approval, or acceptance of others. In the teachings of the Buddha, insecurity arises when we do not fully embrace who we are. Like a seed buried deep in the earth, the potential for confidence, peace, and love sleeps within us, but fear and doubt cover it like shadows. The mind, in its search for light, often looks to reflections in external waters, seeking to see itself clearly in the eyes, opinions, and reactions of others. But just as the reflection in a disturbed pond is broken and unclear, so too is the image the mind attempts to find outside itself. In everyday life, this need for validation shows itself in many gentle yet persistent ways. It may whisper, "I want them to say I did well," or, "If they don't like me, I must be wrong." Sometimes, it asks for a silent nod of approval or fears the absence of a smile. But dear one, the truth hidden beneath this seeking is simple and profound. What the mind truly needs is not the approval of the world, but the acceptance of its own being. The Buddha's wisdom gently invites us to look inward with compassion. He taught that the journey to peace begins with embracing ourselves fully, wounds, fears, and all. In that acceptance, the roots of insecurity begin to loosen their grip. Think of a tree growing strong and tall. Its roots dig deep into the earth, finding nourishment and stability. When the roots are secure, the tree does not sway wildly with every gust of wind. In the same way, when our sense of self is grounded within, we become steady even when the winds of others' opinions blow fiercely. But when the roots are shallow, the tree bends and breaks, tossed by every storm. Similarly, when the mind's foundation lies in external validation, it becomes fragile and unsettled. You might ask, how can I begin to nurture these roots? The answer lies in simple acts of self-kindness and mindfulness. Notice when the mind shifts outward, seeking a sign of worth from others. When this happens, gently pause and bring your attention back to the body, to the breath, to the heart beating quietly beneath the noise. Say softly to yourself, "I am here. I am enough." These words are like watering the seed in the earth, giving it strength to grow. The Buddha also taught that attachment to validation is a form of craving, and craving always leads to suffering. When we want to be seen or accepted in certain ways, we trap ourselves in a cycle of endless desire. No matter how often we receive approval, it never lasts, and the hunger returns. Because of this, the path to freedom is letting go, not in a harsh or rejecting way, but with gentle acceptance. When the mind understands this cycle, it begins to soften. It relaxes the grip on needing to be seen a certain way. Through meditation and mindfulness, the mind can rest in its own presence, finding a quiet source of acceptance within itself. This inner acceptance becomes a shield that no external storm can break. In Buddhist stories, there is a tale of a wanderer who searched far and wide for a precious jewel of worthiness. After many years, he discovered the jewel was nestled inside his own heart the entire time. This story teaches us that the validation we seek outside is already present within us, waiting to be recognized. The Zen masters speak gently of this truth as well. They say, "You do not need to become someone else to be worthy. Just be yourself entirely, without disguise or hesitation." Yet, this journey is not always easy. Old habits of looking outward run deep, and the mind resists returning home. That is why patience is the companion of all spiritual paths. With each moment of kindness to yourself, the need for outside approval loses its urgency. When the need softens, space opens for genuine joy. Joy that does not depend on applause or acceptance from others. The mind begins to know that it is whole and enough exactly as it is. As the Buddha said, "You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection." Freeing the mind from the chains of insecurity is like releasing a bird trapped in a cage. It may flutter anxiously at first, but soon it soars with new freedom. In this freedom, there is peace. In this peace, there is clarity. And in that clarity, the mind no longer fears the gaze of others because it no longer needs their gaze to know its worth. So, dear traveler, when you find your mind reaching again to others for validation, remember this moment, a chance to turn inward, to greet yourself with open arms. Your worth is not a reflection. It is a light that shines from within. May you nurture this light tenderly, and may it grow ever brighter with each breath and each gentle thought. Stories from the Sutras. Lessons on self-mastery. Dear one, listen with an open heart as ancient tales from the Sutras gently unfold before you. These stories, carried for thousands of years, hold timeless wisdom about mastering the restless mind and finding freedom beyond the echoes of others. Through their simplicity and depth, they show us paths from suffering to peace. One such story tells of a young prince named Siddhartha, who would later become the Buddha. He lived a sheltered life, surrounded by beauty and comfort, shielded from the harshness of the world. Yet, deep within him stirred a longing, a question that would not let him rest. Why is there suffering? Why does the heart sometimes feel heavy and restless despite everything? Leaving behind his palace and all the comforts, Siddhartha walked into the unknown, seeking answers beyond the opinions and appearances of the world. This brave step was the beginning of a journey inward, a journey of self-mastery. His path was not easy. He faced great challenges, pain, doubt, and temptation. But through these trials, he learned the true nature of the mind and the heart. He practiced mindfulness and meditation, observing his thoughts and emotions without judgment. In this quiet watching, he found a space between himself and his mind's chatter, a space of calm and clarity. This space, dear one, is the heart of self-mastery. It is the place where we can choose not to be controlled by fear, desire, or the need for others' approval. It is where freedom begins. Another sutra tells of a monk named Angulimala, a man once lost in darkness and violence. His mind was caught in fury and hatred, pulling him far from peace. Yet, when he met the Buddha, something in him softened. The Buddha's presence, calm and full of compassion, did not judge or reject him. Instead, it offered understanding. Through patience and loving kindness, Angulimala's mind slowly changed. He let go of his old ways and found a new path, a path of peace and self-control. This story reminds us that no matter how tangled the mind becomes, there is always a way back through compassion and gentle effort. Self-mastery is not about harsh control or pushing the mind away. It is about meeting the mind as a friend, understanding its fears and wounds, and guiding it gently towards peace. The sutras are full of such wisdom. They teach us that the mind is like a wild horse. Without training, it runs wildly, pulling us along with it. But with patience and practice, the horse learns to follow the reins with grace. When the mind is tamed, It no longer races after others' judgments or clings to fleeting approval. It rests in its own stillness. In one powerful teaching, the Buddha spoke about the 4 foundations of mindfulness. These teachings invite us to observe our body, feelings, mind, and the nature of phenomena with kind, clear attention. Why is this important? Because through mindfulness, we begin to see the illusion of being trapped by others' opinions. We see that the mind can create suffering by its reactions, but can also release suffering by its awareness. The stories from the sutras show us how mindfulness is a lamp lighting the path away from confusion. Imagine a night sky filled with stars. Some stars are bright, others faint. The mind can focus on the chaotic flickering of passing clouds. These clouds are like thoughts of doubt, judgment, or comparison. Or the mind can turn its gaze to the steady stars, the deep and clear awareness that watches all without getting lost. This star-like awareness is our true nature. It is the calm observer within. Through stories, the Buddha guides us back to this place, the home where the mind can breathe freely without fear of other shadows. One story speaks of a man who was caught in a storm at sea. The waves tossed his small boat, and he feared for his life. But then he saw a lighthouse, steady and strong on the shore. That lighthouse did not change with every wave or wind. It stood firm, a beacon of safety. In our journey, mindfulness and wisdom are like that lighthouse. They help us stay steady even when the mind is stormy with fears of judgment or insecurity. Self-mastery is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming aware and kind to the parts of ourselves that are afraid or restless. It is about holding all that arises with gentle acceptance and knowing that peace can grow beneath it all. The sutras remind us that even the smallest seed of mindfulness, planted with care, will grow into a tree strong enough to shelter us in the storms. So, dear friend, as you listen to these stories today, remember that each tells of a step toward freedom. Freedom from the chains of thoughts about others, freedom from comparison and judgment, freedom to simply be. These stories are your companions on the path. When your mind feels tangled, recall the prince who left his palace, the monk who was shown kindness, the wild mind tamed by awareness. You too carry the same potential for peace inside. The teachings invite you to walk your path with patience and love, knowing that even the longest journey begins with a single step. May these ancient stories light your way, warming your heart as you move forward with courage and grace. Mindfulness, returning from others to one's own breath. Dear traveler, life often feels like a restless river, flowing swiftly with thoughts about others, what they think, say, or do. The mind floats downstream, carried by currents of worry, judgment, and comparison. But amid this rushing flow, there lies a gentle path, a quiet return home. This path is mindfulness, an ancient practice that teaches us to come back to ourselves, to breathe, to be present. Many do not realize how precious their own breath is. This breath is the anchor in storms of the mind. Each inhale and exhale calls us gently back from the swirling distractions to a place of calm. When you feel overwhelmed by the endless chatter about what others might say or think, returning to the breath is like coming into a quiet room after a noisy day. The Buddha described mindfulness as the foundation for freedom. Mindfulness is the ability to be aware of each passing moment, without getting caught in stories or judgments. It is to watch thoughts like clouds passing across the blue sky. Passing, always changing, but never taking over the vast openness. When the mind clings to others' opinions, it forgets this sky, forgetting that it can simply observe and let go. Mindfulness is the gentle reminding of the open sky that we already are. Let us imagine a simple moment in daily life. You might be sitting quietly when a thought arises. Did I make a mistake earlier? What are they thinking about me now? Normally, this thought might pull you into a spiral of worry. But if you practice mindfulness, you notice the thought, "Oh, there is a thought about others again," without judgment. Then, you bring your attention back to something steady and real, your breath. You feel the coolness as it enters your nose, the softness as it leaves your mouth. You feel your chest rise and fall gently. This simple act, paying attention to your own breath, is a powerful way of coming home from the noise outside to the peace inside. It is a way of saying to your mind, "You do not need to run after others' minds right now. Rest here with me." The breath is always available, always present. Even when the mind is busy with fear or desire, mindfulness asks us to come back again and again to this moment, to this breath, as many times as needed. In this turning inward, a miracle begins. The mind slowly learns that it can find safety in itself, not in the shifting thoughts about others. It learns that it can be still even when the world around it is restless. The Buddha called this practice anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing. He taught that through this practice, the mind becomes calm, clear, and free. It is as if the breath washes away the dust of worry, leaving the mind fresh and bright. Imagine carrying a small jar filled with water muddy by dirt. Each time you return to your breath, you give the water a chance to settle, to become clear again. The longer you stay, the clearer it becomes, until the water reflects the world around it with perfect calm. This is the power of mindfulness. It calms the waves of restless thoughts about others and shows us how to live fully in each moment. But mindfulness is not only for quiet moments. It is for every breath, every step, every part of life. When you walk outside, feel the ground beneath your feet. Notice how the earth supports you. When you eat, taste the flavors fully without rushing. When you speak, listen deeply to the words you use. All these actions become small acts of returning from the busy world to your own present being. When others' opinions sting or when fear of judgment arises, mindfulness invites you to pause, breathe, and observe. Say gently to yourself, "This feeling is here, but it will pass. I am safe in this moment. There is freedom in this letting go." The mind no longer needs to chase after others to feel worthy or at peace. The roots of confidence grow deeper when the breath is the steady companion, reminding the mind of its inward home, unshaken by passing storms. Remember, dear friend, the breath does not criticize, does not ask for validation. It simply flows, steady and unwavering. Mindfulness invites us to rest in this flow, to awaken to the truth that peace is not found in others' thoughts, but in the simple presence of being alive. Through consistent practice of mindfulness, we begin to see the patterns that pull us away, the worries, ruminations, and comparisons about others. Instead of fighting these thoughts, we observe them with kindness, knowing they are temporary visitors. This practice transforms fear into curiosity and judgment into gentle understanding. The Zen masters often spoke of this in stories and koans. One master said, "When the mind clings to disturbance, breathe and release. When the mind returns to stillness, joy is born." The journey of mindfulness is like learning to walk on a new path. At first, steps may feel shaky, and the mind may wander often. But with each step back to the breath, stability grows. The steps become lighter and the path clearer. In this way, mindfulness is a lifelong friend, always ready to guide the mind back to peace. Let your breath be your anchor and your teacher. When you find yourself caught in thoughts about what others think, remember, you can always come home to your own breath. In this home, you are free. Free from the weights of fear, comparison, and doubt. Here, you are whole. Here, you are enough. May you find comfort and strength in the simple, steady rhythm of your breath, now and always. Attachment and aversion, the trap of others' actions. Dear friend, walk with me now through a quiet garden of thought, where we explore one of the most common yet unseen traps that bind the mind, the trap of attachment and aversion. From the earliest moments we begin to experience the world, we learn to react. Certain people, places, and things bring us joy, and we reach toward them with desire. This is attachment. Others hurt, frighten, or upset us, and we push them away or reject them. This is aversion. When it comes to how others act towards us, this push and pull becomes especially strong. A kind word lifts the heart. A harsh glance wounds it deeply. We grasp at praise and shrink from criticism, as if our peace depends entirely on the actions of those around us. But this seeking and rejecting becomes a cage where the mind lives in constant unrest. The more we cling to things we desire or try to avoid things we dislike, the more the mind twists and turns, never fully at ease. The Buddha spoke often about the middle path, a way to live free from the extremes of craving and pushing away. He taught that attachment and aversion lie at the root of suffering because they bind us to a world we cannot control. Consider the story of a man who loved his garden. Every flower, every leaf was precious to him. When the flowers bloomed, his heart sang. But when a storm came and battered the garden, he became filled with sorrow and anger. He clung to the idea that the garden should remain perfect, rejecting the changes that came with time. This man's story is our story too. We hold tightly to how we wish others would treat us, to the way the world should be. And when reality differs, we suffer. Attachment is like being caught in a net. No matter how much we struggle, it tightens. Aversion is like carrying a heavy stone, one we refuse to put down, even though it tires us beyond measure. You might wonder, if attachment and aversion cause suffering, how do I let them go when they feel so natural? The answer lies in gentle awareness and compassion toward others and toward ourselves. When you feel your heart tugged by craving a kind look or repel a harsh word, pause and breathe. Notice the feeling. Acknowledge it without fighting or running away. See it as a wave rising in the vast ocean of your mind. Not the whole ocean, just a passing wave. This simple observation begins to loosen the grip of attachment and aversion. It creates a space between the feeling and your reaction. With each mindful breath, that space grows. You find you can respond with choice, instead of being pulled like a leaf in the wind. Why does this matter so much in relation to others? Because when our peace depends on their actions, we have handed over the keys to our happiness. We become fragile, tossed by every change in their moods, every decision they make. The mind becomes a puppet, dancing to the tune of outside forces. Yet, the true master of peace holds the reins inward, not outward. The Buddha showed that by understanding the nature of attachment and aversion, we can free ourselves from their power. He taught that everything in life is impermanent. Every smile, every word, every glance changes and passes away. When we grasp this deeply, the mind learns to hold lightly, love openly, and accept fully. In the Zen tradition, there is a teaching about non-attachment. This does not mean absence of love or caring. It means caring without clinging, loving without expecting. It is the freedom to receive others' actions as they come, whether kind or harsh, without losing our peace. There is a story from Zen masters about an old farmer whose horse ran away one day. The neighbors said, "Such bad luck." The farmer calmly replied, "Maybe so, maybe not." Days later, the horse returned, bringing with it a wild stallion. The neighbor said, "How wonderful." Again, the farmer responded, "Maybe so, maybe not." This story teaches us the art of non-attachment, seeing things as they are, without too quick judgments or emotional clinging. When we practice this with others' actions, our hearts become like a calm lake, reflecting without shaking. Of course, the mind is not perfect. It will cling at times, push away at others, but even this struggle can be met with kindness. When aversion arises, resentment, anger, or fear, welcome it gently. Do not blame yourself for feeling human. When attachment blooms, desire, longing, or hope, observe it softly. Let it teach you about your needs and fears. In this mindful meeting, change begins. The mind learns to flow with life's rhythms rather than forcing its own. Imagine a tree bending with the wind. It does not resist the gusts violently but moves gracefully, returning to stillness when the storm passes. So too can our hearts learn this dance, loving others and accepting their actions without giving away our peace. This balance between caring and non-attachment is the essence of true freedom. It is the middle way the Buddha illuminated, a path where the mind dwells neither in grasping nor rejecting, but in open awareness. Dear one, know that this path is gentle and patient. It does not demand sudden change, but invites small steps. Each moment you notice your reactions to others' actions, you practice the art of letting go. Each breath you take into acceptance is a breath towards peace. In this way, attachment and aversion lose their sting. Your heart becomes a vast sky, wide, clear, and free. May your journey through this garden of mindfulness bring ever-growing freedom and lightness. The freedom of letting go, non-attachment in practice. Dear traveler in the journey of life, today we explore a profound truth, a key that unlocks the door to true peace and freedom. That key is the art of letting go. In the gentle unfolding of time, we learn that freedom is not found by holding tightly to what we love or pushing away what we fear. It blossoms from the soft and steady practice of non-attachment. From the earliest moments, the mind often clings to people, to ideas, to the way things should be. We clutch these with a longing that seems to promise security and happiness. Yet, how often does this clutching lead us into deeper suffering? Like grasping at water, the harder we hold, the more it slips through our fingers. The Buddha, with infinite compassion, taught us to wake up from this illusion. He showed that holding with open hands, rather than clenched fists, brings peace. This does not mean we become indifferent or uncaring. On the contrary, non-attachment invites us to love more deeply, with a heart unbound by fear or expectation. Imagine a bird resting on a branch. It perches lightly, ready to fly at any moment. If the bird clings tightly, it cannot take flight. But perched lightly, it can soar freely when called. So too must the heart be, able to rest in the moment, ready to let go when change comes. Letting go is the gentle release of the mind's tight grip on desires and fears. It is the quiet courage to accept things as they are, not as we wish them to be. It is the strength to face change without resistance. In Buddhist teachings, this practice is called vairagya, often translated as dispassion or non-attachment. It is not coldness, but warm clarity, a heart that embraces all without being entangled. Many find letting go difficult because the mind fears loss. It believes letting go means losing oneself or losing what is precious. Yet, the opposite is true. Letting go frees the heart to discover its true nature, which can never be lost. There is an old Zen story about a man who carried a heavy load on his back. One day, he saw a beautiful bird flying freely in the sky. He wished to be like that bird, but felt trapped by his burden. A wise teacher appeared and said, "Put down your load first." The man hesitated, but finally laid down his burden. As he did, he felt light and free, able to move with the wind. This story teaches us that our burdens, resentments, fears, attachments, need not define us. We can choose to lay them down and walk lightly. Non-attachment also means releasing the need to control the actions or thoughts of others. When the mind tries to hold on to someone's approval or change their behavior, it becomes entangled and restless. The Buddha emphasized seeing the truth of impermanence, that all things change, nothing stays the same. People change, emotions change, and even our own thoughts change. When we accept this, we stop clinging to fixed ideas about how things must be. Letting go is also a practice of trust. Trust that life flows as it should. Trust that we have enough strength to face whatever comes. And trust that peace is found within, not outside. The breath offers a beautiful example of this. Each breath comes and goes effortlessly. It doesn't hold on to what was breathed out nor force what is to be breathed in. It simply flows. We too can learn to flow with life's changes without gripping or pushing away. When difficult emotions arise, pain, sadness, anger, non-attachment does not mean ignoring or suppressing them. Instead, it means holding these feelings with gentle awareness, without letting them control us. The mind watches them like waves on the ocean, sometimes high, sometimes low, but always passing. In this witnessing, the grip of suffering loosens. This freedom is not a faraway dream, but a present reality waiting to be discovered in every moment of letting go. Every time the mind loosens its hold on a worry about others' opinions, it takes a step toward true liberation. When the heart releases the chains of attachment to approval or acceptance, it opens wide like a lotus blossoming in the morning sun. Non-attachment also leads to a deep compassion for ourselves and for others. When we stop clinging to how we want things to be, we become open to others as they are, with all their imperfections and beauty. The Buddha taught that attachment breeds suffering not only for ourselves, but for the world. When we let go, we contribute to peace around us. This practice is not about giving up, but about gaining lightness, clarity, and space to love freely. The Zen masters often spoke of non-attachment as a dance between holding and releasing, between presence and freedom. They said it is the art of being fully here and now, without grasping the past or fearing the future. In this dance, joy arises naturally. It does not depend on conditions, but flows from the heart's openness. Dear one, know that non-attachment is a journey, not a destination. It grows with patience, kindness, and practice. Some days the mind may cling tightly, but each moment is a new chance to try again. Each breath, each thought can be a step toward letting go. May you find the courage to loosen your grasp and the grace to rest in the freedom that waits beyond. In this freedom, may your heart soar light and true, untouched by the shadows of others' opinions. Compassion instead of comparison. Dear traveler on the path, today let us walk together into a gentle light, the light of compassion. For many hearts, comparison clouds the mind like a thick fog, making it hard to see clearly. But compassion, like the morning sun, slowly burns away the fog, revealing the world in its true colors. Why do we compare? Often, comparison comes from a place of fear or loneliness. The mind looks at others' lives, their success, their smiles, and wonders, why don't I have that? Am I less because I lack it? These questions stir restlessness, dissatisfaction, and pain. Yet comparison is a trickster. It whispers lies that keep us bound in sorrow. It convinces us that we are separate, less than, or not enough. But the truth deep inside is different. The truth is that we are all connected by the same heart, the same desire for love, acceptance, and peace. The Buddha taught that compassion is the antidote to comparison. When we look at others not as competitors or threats, but as fellow beings with hopes and struggles, the mind softens. Compassion breaks down walls and builds bridges of understanding. Imagine a mother bird watching her young learn to fly. She feels both joy and worry. She does not compare her chicks to others, but loves them uniquely and fully. Compassion cares deeply without measuring or judging. Compassion begins with seeing others not as objects or reflections, but as creatures with stories, pain, and dreams. This seeing opens the heart to kindness instead of envy, to understanding instead of judgment. In Buddhist teachings, the practice of metta, or loving-kindness meditation, helps cultivate this vast compassion. It invites us to send warm wishes to ourselves first. May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be free from suffering. Then, we extend these wishes to others, even those we find difficult. This practice gently softens the hardened places in our hearts. Like rain nourishing dry soil, compassion makes space for healing and connection. Think for a moment about a time when someone compared themselves unfavorably to you. Perhaps they felt jealous or sad. When you respond with compassion, seeing their pain rather than their competition, you create a possibility for peace, not conflict. Compassion transforms our view of ourselves as well. It asks us to be gentle with our imperfections, to understand that growth comes with stumbles, and that every heart has its own pace. Comparison often leads to self-criticism. I am not as good as they are, or I must do better to be worthy. But compassion whispers, you are enough as you are. You are worthy of love and kindness. The Buddha taught that anger and jealousy are rooted in not seeing clearly. When we practice compassion, these heavy emotions dissolve, freeing the mind to rest peacefully. There is an old Zen story of a monk who met a stranger on his path. The stranger was harsh, rude, and unkind, yet the monk wished him well silently. Over time, the stranger changed, softened by the monk's compassion. This story shows us that even the hardest hearts can melt with genuine kindness. Compassion is courageous. It means opening the heart even when it feels fragile. It means choosing understanding over envy, love over judgment. When you awaken compassion within yourself, you no longer need to compare to know your worth. You see that worth shines in every being, including you. This awakening brings freedom and joy. It releases the mind from the endless cycle of better or worse, and invites it to rest in the beauty of simply being. Compassion also connects us deeply with others. In a world often divided by difference, compassion is the bridge that unites. When jealousy or comparison arises, pause and breathe. Ask yourself, what is this feeling behind the thought? Is it fear, loneliness, or pain? Kindly meet that feeling and imagine sending it warmth and acceptance. This turning inward is the first step toward outward compassion. The path of compassion is a journey of small acts. Smiling at a stranger, listening deeply, forgiving yourself and others. Each act of kindness is like a seed planted in the fertile field of the heart, which grows into flowers of peace and joy. In this way, compassion transforms not only your life, but the whole world around you. The Zen masters remind us that the greatest gift we can offer others is our open heart, not through grand gestures, but through simple moments of presence, understanding, and love. So, dear one, when the mind urges you to compare, choose instead to open with compassion. Let your heart soften and expand. Feel the interwoven threads connecting you to all beings. Know that compassion is your true nature, your greatest strength, and your deepest joy. May you walk this path with courage and kindness. May compassion light every step you take, and may the fog of comparison lift, revealing the radiant truth of your own and others' worth. Zen Masters on Living Without External Approval. Dear traveler, in the quiet chambers of Zen, wise masters have shared gentle teachings on a truth deeply needed by all who suffer while seeking approval from others. To live without relying on the applause or acceptance of the world is to live in a profound freedom. A freedom that comes from knowing one's true self beyond the shifting opinions of others. The journey to this freedom often begins with a question. Who am I when no one is watching? Many spend their lives conditioned by the eyes of others, living as if under a spotlight, performing for approval. Yet, Zen teaches that true life blooms not on the stage of others' eyes, but in the stillness of one's own heart. One beloved Zen story tells of a monk who lived in a small, humble hut on the mountainside. Villagers would often come and ask him, "What do others think of you? Are you respected?" The monk smiled and said, "Why do I care about others' thoughts? I seek only to know myself." His answer puzzled many, but in its simplicity lay a profound truth. The Zen masters speak of selflessness, not as a loss of identity, but as freedom from being bound to the expectations and judgments of others. When the mind is free from the need for external approval, it no longer wavers with every breeze of opinion, but stands firm like an ancient tree whose roots run deep. This selflessness is not emptiness or detachment, but a fullness of being. It is the quiet power to live authentically, speaking and acting from inner truth rather than fear or desire for approval. Imagine a clear mountain lake at dawn. The water ripples and reflects the sky without distortion, yet it remains unchanged by passing clouds. Our true self is like this lake, stable and clear beneath the noise of passing judgments. Zen masters say that living without external approval is like this: dancing to the rhythm of your own heart, not to the music others play. It is stepping away from the stage to walk quietly in the forest, finding joy in your own footsteps. One master taught that approval from others is like smoke, always shifting, never solid. To chase it is to chase the wind. Instead, he invited his students to kindle an inner fire, a light that shines steadily no matter the darkness outside. This inner fire is the light of self-acceptance and wisdom. When kindled, it warms the heart and illuminates the path, guiding even in the darkest nights. Such freedom brings peace from anxiety, the ceaseless worry about how others see us. It frees us from the trap of living according to other people's scripts and allows us to write our own stories. Yet Zen masters also remind us that this path requires courage. It means facing the fear of rejection, the loneliness of standing apart at times, and the challenge of deep self-examination. The mind addicted to approval may resist this path, preferring the comfort of pretending, pleasing, or hiding. But with gentle persistence, the heart learns that true belonging begins within. Another teaching speaks of the mirror mind, a mind that reflects without choosing or rejecting, that sees the world and yet remains untouched by its judgments. When you develop this mirror mind, you see yourself and others clearly, without distortion caused by the need for approval or fear of rejection. This clarity brings compassion and wisdom, not pride or arrogance. It allows you to engage with the world fully, yet remain free inside. Zen stories often tell of sudden awakening moments, satori or kensho, when a student glimpses this truth. It is like waking from a long sleep, realizing that the cage of needing others' approval was made of thin air. After awakening, life changes not necessarily in grand ways, but in the subtle way a flower opens to the sun, gradually, gently, naturally. You learn to listen to your own voice, to honor your own rhythm. You learn that your worth is not founded on applause, but on your very being. The Zen masters sometimes use paradox to teach this freedom. They say, if you want to find approval, lose it. This means that releasing the craving for acceptance is the way to true acceptance. Acceptance that does not depend on conditions. Living without external approval is not about isolation. It is about belonging to yourself fully, so that when you connect with others, it is from a place of wholeness, not neediness. Imagine two trees growing side by side. When each grows strong in its own roots, they can stand together through storms without overshadowing or competing. But if one leans heavily on the other, both sway with the wind. This balance, standing firm within and reaching out without losing oneself, is the teaching of Zen masters. To cultivate this, they encourage daily practices of meditation and self-inquiry, quiet moments of facing the mind's fears and gently releasing them. They remind us, too, that the mind is like water. When disturbed, it clouds and blurs. When still, it reflects truth clearly. With patience and kindness towards ourselves, we can restore this stillness. Dear one, know that the path to living without external approval is slow and gentle. It is a path of kindness, patience, and love for yourself. As you walk this path, may you find the courage to see clearly beyond the shadows of others' eyes. May your heart grow steady as the mountain, your spirit free like the wind. And may you shine with the quiet radiance of one who lives fully and freely, not for others, but for the truth within. Transforming daily life. Focus on inner peace. Dear traveler walking gently through the unfolding moments of life, today we explore how to bring the teaching of non-attachment and mindful presence into the very fabric of your everyday days. True peace is not hidden in faraway mountains or secret caves. It blooms quietly within the ordinary moments. Each breath, each step, each heartbeat. Life is not separate from the path to peace. Every moment, whether filled with joy or struggle, carries the seed of awakening. The great Zen masters remind us that the sacred and the mundane are not two but one and the same, like two sides of a leaf shining in the sunlight. When the mind is tangled in thoughts of others, what they think, their judgments, their approval, it forgets to taste the freshness of now. Yet in each moment, there is a choice: to be lost in the stories of the mind or to come back to the breath, to the body, to the simple reality of being alive. Imagine washing a dusty stone. The dust of worry and comparison clings tightly, but with gentle rinsing and patience, it falls away, revealing smoothness and beauty beneath. Transforming daily life begins with this gentle washing, bringing mindfulness to your ordinary actions. Think about waking in the morning. Before the day's noise rushes in your ears, take a moment to breathe deeply. Feel the softness of the bed, the cool air on your skin, the steady rise and fall of your chest. Start your day with this simple awareness, and you set a tone of peace that ripples outward. When you walk, feel each step. Feel the connection of your feet to the earth below. Notice how the ground supports you without question, without judgment. When you eat, taste each bite slowly, savoring flavors, textures, life given to nourish your body. In these moments, the mind quiets and heart opens. Learning to live with this open, peaceful mind in daily life transforms more than just moments. It transforms the way we see ourselves and others. When someone's words feel sharp or their glance cold, the practiced mind does not leap into pain or judgment. Instead, it notices the feeling, breathes into it, and lets it pass like wind across a pond. When envy or comparison arise, the mindful heart pauses and smiles gently, knowing these emotions are clouds, not storms. Each breath taken with awareness is a small miracle, a return to home from the tangled paths of the mind. In this peaceful presence, you meet yourself with kindness, not harsh critique. This kindness is the soil where self-love grows, a love that does not need to prove itself through others' eyes. Daily practice of mindfulness builds strength, like gentle rain nourishing a garden. Over time, the mind learns to rest more often in peace and less in turmoil. This transformation is subtle and slow, like dawn gently brightening the dark. Do not expect sudden changes, but trust the unfolding process. Zen masters speak of just sitting, or shikantaza, sitting with nothing to do but be fully present. This practice teaches us that peace is our natural state when the mind ceases its frantic chasing. Even in activity, we can carry this calm. Washing dishes, folding laundry, or listening to a friend can become sacred acts when done with full attention. The world around you becomes a mirror reflecting your inner peace. Conflicts and judgments lose their grip when met with a calm, centered heart. When you focus on inner peace, your life flows with greater ease. Decisions become clearer, relationships deepen, and fears soften. This peace transforms how you respond to others. It invites patience instead of anger, curiosity instead of suspicion, love instead of resistance. Imagine your heart as a still lake, reflecting the moon softly at night. No matter how the wind blows, the lake holds its light. When your mind rests in such stillness, you are free from the storms of others' opinions and judgments. This freedom is the foundation for authentic living. Living authentically means showing up as you are, without masks or pretenses. It means accepting your flaws and gifts in equal measure. It means belonging fully to yourself before belonging to anyone else. True belonging begins in self-acceptance. The more you nurture this peace within, the less the mind craves validation from outside. You become less entangled in comparing and more interested in simply being. May this transformation seep gently into each corner of your life, bringing tranquility where there was noise, clarity where there was confusion. As you walk through the ordinary days with extraordinary mindfulness, may your heart unfold in quiet beauty. May you find the courage to meet every moment with a peaceful mind and an open heart. And may this inner peace be a beacon, not only for you, but for all those whose paths you cross. Please let me know when you are ready for part 12. Here is part 1 of the script for the video on Don't Think Too Much About Others. Incorporating your specific requirements, approximately 2,000 characters and organized as requested. Part 1, Introduction. The burden of overthinking others. Have you ever found yourself lying awake at night wondering, what do they really think of me? Or, did I say something wrong in that meeting? These questions whirl through the mind, creating a storm that robs us of peace. Why do we spend so much time caring about others' opinions, letting their imagined judgments shape our happiness? Imagine walking down the street, and someone you know doesn't smile at you. Instantly, your mind starts spinning. Did I upset them? What did I do wrong? Meanwhile, they might simply be lost in their own thoughts. Welcome to Wisdom Woven, where deep truths meet everyday life. Here, you'll find gentle guidance for the tangled moments of the mind. If you are touched by our message, please support us by liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% subscribe. So please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support is what helps us keep weaving this wisdom. Often, the roots of overthinking others grow from our mind's habit of measuring our worth through the eyes of others. This burden is heavy and unseen, yet it saps joy and freedom. Buddhism teaches us a profound truth. The mind is like a mirror that reflects whatever it holds in front of it. If we place others' thoughts there, our mirror clouds. If we hold our own calm presence, clarity shines. Our peace does not depend on external validation, but on the strength we cultivate within through mindfulness and self-love. Today, let's begin to unravel this pattern, understanding why the mind gets caught and exploring the gentle path back to peaceful presence. Stay with me, because the insights ahead can free your heart and change how you live. Conclusion: living authentically beyond others' shadows. Dear traveler, here we reach the gentle close of our journey, but this is not an end. It is a new beginning. The journey inward to freedom from thinking too much about others culminates in living authentically. Living fully as the radiant, unique soul you are beyond the shadows cast by opinions, judgments, and expectations. To live authentically means to wake each day and greet yourself without disguise. It means embracing your true nature with kindness and courage, not hiding behind masks fashioned from fear of rejection or desire for approval. The world may cast many shadows, but the light of your true self is steady and unshaken. Many people spend their lives caught in the web of others' thoughts, twisting and turning to fit the shapes made by external expectations. This is a tiring and lonely dance, one that dims the light of who you really are. But dear one, Freedom is found when you choose to step out of this dance and stand tall in your own truth, grounded not in others' reflections, but in your own heart's deep knowing. The Buddha reminded us that each being carries Buddha nature, an inherent wisdom, peace, and purity waiting to be uncovered beneath the layers of illusion. Living authentically awakens this nature. It breaks the chains of dependency on others' views, allowing the heart to sing freely. Authenticity is courage. It is to speak your truth, to follow your own path, to honor your feelings, needs, and dreams without shame. And though this path may sometimes feel lonely, know that many have walked before you and many will walk after, all seeking to live from their own light rather than from shadows. This path calls for gentle strength, the strength to face fears of rejection and the unknown, the strength to let go of old patterns of seeking approval. Authentic living invites a deep peace, for it rests not on fragile external grounds, but on the solid rock of self-acceptance. It is waking each morning knowing that you are enough, exactly as you are. This freedom brings joy that is simple and radiant, not loud or demanding. Joy that rises from being true to oneself in every moment, regardless of others' judgments. In this freedom, relationships change too. You no longer need to please or perform to be loved. You can give and receive love from a space of wholeness. Others may react in surprise or discomfort as you shed old masks, but this is their journey, not yours. You hold your light patiently and kindly, knowing that true connection comes when two whole hearts meet, not when one bends to fit another. Zen masters teach us that authentic life is like a river flowing naturally, encountering rocks and bends, yet never losing its essence. The river does not resist the obstacles, but moves gracefully around them. So too, you flow through life with openness and resilience. To live authentically is to dance fully with all aspects of yourself, strengths and vulnerabilities, light and shadow. It is to welcome your whole being with compassion. May you cultivate this compassion gently, forgiving yourself for every time you sought others' approval instead of your own. May you learn from each step, honoring the courage it takes to walk this path. And may you continue to return always to the quiet center within, your refuge and your home. Remember, dear friend, you are not alone in this journey. Many hearts beat with the same longing for peace and authenticity. As you walk your path, know that your light inspires others to find their own. Before we part, I invite you once more to join our community at Wisdom Woven, a place where gentle wisdom is shared to uplift hearts and awaken minds. There are many views on this channel, but only 0.2% of those touch subscribe. So, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your presence and support help us continue weaving these threads of peace and truth. Together, let's grow a circle of kindness, mindfulness, and courage. Thank you for walking this journey with me. May your life be filled with the quiet joy of living true and free. May you shine brightly, beyond all shadows forever. Please let me know if you would like any part elaborated further, or if you need support for your channel growth and video descriptions.